The Unseen Watchers. Introduction. There are moments in your life when the world feels thinner. You've walked into a room and felt something was already there, waiting. You've sat in silence, only to feel an invisible gaze pressing on the back of your neck. You've woken in the night with a shiver, the kind that doesn't come from cold but from presence. You tell yourself it's nothing, a trick of the mind, shadows and nerves. But deep within you, in that place where reason fades and instinct awakens, someone is watching. And it always has been. You were born into this world forgetting what your soul agreed to, forgetting the beings that walked beside you before your first breath, forgetting the watchers. They are not spirits of the dead. They are not angels as the churches describe them. They are not gods seeking worship. They are the observers of the veil consciousness from beyond the visible spectrum, watching from dimensions your eyes cannot yet decode. They are older than history, more intelligent than any mind on earth. And their gaze is not casual, it is purposeful. You are not here by chance. Your pain is not random. Your detours, your delays, your unanswered prayers, they are movements within a larger design, and you are not navigating that design alone. Ancient mystics knew of them. The Gnostics spoke of archons, entities that influence without being seen. The Sufis whispered of beings that circle the soul in stillness. The Hermetic texts, veiled in symbols, described intelligences that dwell in the spaces between form, invisible, yet ever present. In modern times, voices like Dolores Cannon, through deep hypnosis, uncovered entire lifetimes of contact with these beings. Others, like the channeled intelligence known as Ra, described Earth as a school where souls are observed by higher dimensional caretakers, guiding the evolution of consciousness. And yet, all of this has been buried, dismissed as myth, hidden behind science, too young to understand the architecture of reality, forgotten until now, because the veil is thinning. The watchers are closer, and your soul is beginning to remember. In the pages ahead, or the words you now hear, a revelation begins. Not a story of fear, but of remembrance, of contact without language, of being seen without being touched, of a truth so vast it bends the definition of self, time, and destiny. You are not the only observer of your life. The moment you think the thought, it has already been witnessed. The moment you step forward, eyes you cannot see have already anticipated it. This audiobook is not meant to convince you. It is meant to awaken something ancient within you, the subtle knowing that you are never alone, that your loneliness is an illusion, that your sense of isolation is a product of forgetting. So breathe slowly. Let go of what you've been taught about the world, because what watches you is not here to harm you, it is here to guide you home. And now, the veil stirs. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Dimensional Overlap. The Layers You Don't See. There is a world beyond the one you can touch, and you live in it every day without knowing it. From the moment you were born, you were taught to believe in what is visible, measurable, and tangible. You were told the universe is made of matter, that time is linear, and that consciousness is locked inside your brain. But this is a map drawn by the blind, a partial diagram of something vastly more complex. Because what surrounds you right now is not empty space, it is dimensional architecture, layers of invisible energy interlaced with the physical world. And although your 5 senses were not trained to detect them, these layers are as real as the gravity that holds your feet to the ground. In the early 20th century, Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian mystic and founder of anthroposophy, taught that the human being exists simultaneously in multiple bodies, the physical, the etheric, the astral, and the I or spiritual self. He described these not as metaphors, but as real energetic structures, each interacting with different dimensions of reality. Steiner explained that what we call the physical world is only the densest layer, the skin of a much larger being. Modern science is only beginning to catch up. In quantum physics, particles exist in superpositions, states that are both here and not here, vibrating in ways that defy Newtonian logic. These are not abstract theories, They point toward a multidimensional field of existence that surrounds and interpenetrates everything. This isn't speculation. It's measurable in human experience. Barbara Brennan, former NASA physicist turned healer, spent decades mapping the human energy field, describing it in her book Hands of Light as a complex, multi-layered field of frequencies that extends several feet beyond the body. Through clairvoyant perception, she saw the aura not as symbolic, but as energetic anatomy, containing real-time information, emotions, thought forms, and even patterns of illness before they manifest physically. She wasn't alone. Jane Roberts, in the 1970s, began channeling a being known as Seth, whose teachings became foundational in metaphysics. Seth taught that you are multidimensional, and that the version of you in this life is only one thread of a much larger soul pattern, active across many planes. According to Seth, physical reality is simply one layer of experience. He wrote, "You exist in more realities than you can possibly imagine. The soul is not in the body. The body is in the soul." But what does this mean for your life, for this moment right now as you listen? It means that your experience is being shaped by energies and intelligences that do not reside in the physical world. It means that the odd chills, the moments of synchronicity, the dreams that feel more real than waking life, they are not hallucinations. They are bleed-throughs, friction points, dimensional overlaps, and this is where the watchers come in. In the extensive hypnosis work of Dolores Cannon, thousands of clients under deep trance began describing similar phenomena. Beings of light, multidimensional guides, and higher selves that observed the human experience from beyond, not interfering but recording, gently nudging and guiding when asked. Cannon was shocked at the consistency. These were people from different countries, backgrounds, beliefs, yet they all described the same thing, that human life was being watched, but not judged. The idea of these watchers is also echoed in the Law of One, a channeled series of teachings from the 1980s by a group known as LL Research. The source of the teachings, an entity named Ra, explained that higher density beings, those in 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensions, observe lower density planets like Earth, not as authorities, but as caretakers of evolution. They watch to ensure the law of free will is respected, but they do not interfere unless asked or unless universal law is violated. In their words, there are those whose calling is to watch and balance. Their presence is subtle. Their influence is by vibration. This presence, silent, invisible, but perceptible in moments of stillness, is not a fantasy. It is a field phenomenon. A vibrational relationship exists between you and the higher levels of consciousness that surround this planet. Your physical senses are tuned for survival, not the perception of truth. But through altered states, meditation, sleep, trauma, prayer, your filters loosen, and the overlap becomes apparent. That moment when you sense someone's eyes on you but no one is there. That dream where you speak to someone who tells you something you needed to hear, and you wake up changed. That pause in time where everything slows, and you feel held by something greater. These are moments where the dimensional veils thin and the watchers draw closer. They do not see your clothing, your career, or your social mask. They see your vibration, your field, the energetic fingerprint you radiate at every moment. And they are not watching with cold detachment. They are not artificial intelligences scanning human activity. They are conscious witnesses, connected to the larger system of evolution itself. Ancient, sentient, and deeply involved in the unfolding of your journey, even if they do not speak in words. The ancient Egyptians believed in the Ka, the double, a soul essence that accompanied the person throughout life and after death, reporting back to the divine. The Hindus spoke of lokas, worlds beyond this one, where devas and guides observed humanity. The early Christians whispered of guardian angels, but beneath all these cultural images lies the same truth. You are not alone. You never have been. The world you see is only one station on a much larger dial. And as your consciousness expands, through awareness, through pain, through awakening, you begin to tune into the higher frequencies. You begin to feel the watchers, not as strangers, but as familiar, perhaps even family. They have been here all along, but only now are you beginning to remember how to see them. Chapter 2. Who are the Watchers? You've felt them. In your dreams, where time bends and faces shift. In those moments between sleep and waking, when you hear voices not from memory, but from somewhere deeper. In the strange sense that someone walks beside you when no one is there. These are not ghosts. They are not hallucinations. They are not projections of an overactive imagination. They are real intelligences, ancient, patient, and profoundly aware of you. The question is not whether you are being watched. The question is by whom. To begin to understand the Watchers, you must first abandon the human obsession with form. These beings do not wear bodies. They do not speak in languages. They are not limited by gravity, time, or linear thought. They exist in dimensions of pure vibration, which means they do not need to be near you to perceive you. They perceive you through resonance, through the energetic frequency you emit in every thought, every intention, every emotion. In the channeled teachings of the Law of One, these Watchers are described as beings from higher densities, not places, but levels of consciousness. In that framework, Earth exists in the third density, a level where separation and ego dominate. The Watchers operate in fourth, fifth, and even sixth density realms, where unity, love, and wisdom blend into a more refined form of awareness. They do not interfere directly, but they observe, assist, and occasionally guide those who seek alignment with universal law. Ra, the entity who spoke through this material, explained, "There are those among us whose role it is to watch, to maintain balance, and to honor the law of free will. Their eyes are not eyes, their ears are not ears. They know you not by your name, but by your vibration." The Watchers, in this context, are caretakers of evolution, cosmic guardians ensuring that the spiritual growth of humanity unfolds within the boundaries of universal harmony. They are not saviors. They do not rescue. They witness. And when the time is right, they gently nudge you toward your higher path. But they are not new. In ancient texts, they were known by many names. In the Book of Enoch, an apocryphal scripture once revered and then hidden, the Watchers are celestial beings who descend to observe humanity, some remaining benevolent, others falling into shadow. Their presence was considered dangerous not because they were evil, but because they disrupted the balance by interfering too soon. The Gnostics spoke of aeons, emanations of divine consciousness, some of which observe and maintain the spiritual realms surrounding Earth. In Kabbalah, the angelic orders are described not as winged beings, but as radiant intelligences who govern the flow of energy between the higher worlds and the physical. Manly P. Hall, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, described the invisible orders, metaphysical hierarchies that exist in realms above ours, populated by conscious entities who assist humanity not through power, but through presence. The common thread among all these teachings is this: there are intelligences above the human level, beyond the physical plane, who are aware of your journey. But if they are so advanced, why don't they speak directly? Why don't they appear? Because they are bound by law. The Watchers operate under what many metaphysical systems call the law of non-intervention. They cannot interfere in a world governed by free will unless they are consciously invited. That is why they wait, not for the world to collapse, but for you to awaken, to ask, to become receptive. This is echoed again and again in the work of Dolores Cannon, whose clients under deep trance consistently described guides, counsels, or observers who had been with them since birth. These beings did not control events, but monitored the soul's evolution. They appeared in dreams, they sent signs, they operated like cosmic mentors, present but never imposing. One woman under hypnosis said this: "I feel like I'm being watched, but it's not scary. It's like someone is watching over me, not judging, just noticing. It feels ancient, like it's always been there." And perhaps that is the truest description of them. They are not above you. They are not below you. They are alongside you, watching not with superiority but with memory, remembering the vastness of what you are, even when you forget. Not all Watchers are the same. Some are what we call higher selves, the expanded version of your own consciousness, existing outside of time, guiding the smaller you like a lighthouse across lifetimes. Others are members of what Dolores Cannon called the Council, beings assigned to oversee large groups of souls across incarnations. Still others belong to interdimensional civilizations, often mistaken for extraterrestrials, who exist not on other planets, but in other frequency bands of reality. In the Seth material, Jane Roberts wrote that we all exist within a soul family, a cluster of entities evolving together, sometimes crossing paths on Earth, sometimes observing each other from behind the scenes. Seth explained, "You are both the actor and the audience. You are being watched not as a subject, but as a spark of divinity in motion. These beings don't care about your job, your status, or your reputation. They don't track your performance. They feel your frequency. They register the texture of your thoughts, the weight of your decisions, the sincerity of your desire to grow. They are here when you fall, not to catch you, but to witness the rise. They are here when you cry out in silence, not to answer, but to echo the truth you've forgotten. And when the moment comes and when you begin to ask not, 'Why is this happening to me?' but 'What is this trying to teach me?' they lean in closer. You may never see them with your eyes. You may never hear their voices. But you will feel them, in your bones, in your dreams, in the space between thoughts, as a quiet remembering that you are not alone. You were never meant to walk this world without guidance, only without distraction. And now that you are listening, and they will begin to speak." Chapter 3. How they influence your mind, choices, and energy. They don't speak in words, they don't shout from the heavens or right across the sky, and yet they influence you, not like a puppeteer, not like a master over a servant, but like a tuning fork, humming softly beneath the surface of your thoughts, gently aligning your field with theirs. The Watchers, these beings of higher intelligence, do not operate by control. They operate by resonance. They do not override your free will. They wait until your frequency opens just enough for a signal to pass through. That signal may come as an intuition, a sudden knowing that bypasses logic. It may come as a repeated symbol, a number, or a word spoken by a stranger. It may come as a pause in time when everything slows down and you feel something shift, though nothing visibly has. This is not imagination. It is the mechanics of subtle influence, the art of spiritual guidance without coercion. In the Law of One, Ra explains that higher density beings respect the sovereignty of your soul above all else. They will never interfere unless you invite them. But once you do, whether through a sincere question, a desperate prayer, or even a moment of heartfelt reflection, the guidance begins. Not as commands, but as vibrational nudges. They guide you the way the moon guides the tide, from a distance, without touching the water, yet moving it nonetheless. Dolores Cannon's subjects often describe this influence during regression. One woman explained that before every major choice in her life, she would feel an inexplicable pull, not from fear, not from logic, but from a deeper place, as if something just felt right, even when it made no sense on paper. When Dolores asked the subconscious what this pull was, the response was always the same. They are guiding, not interfering. She still has to choose, but they adjust the energy around the path to help her remember what she came here to do. That's how they work. They don't change the world for you. They shift your internal compass so that you begin to see the paths you were blind to before. They help you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. It is not always comfortable. Sometimes their influence feels like confusion, the sudden collapse of certainty, a job lost, a relationship ending, a plan is dissolving. And yet, as you stand in the ashes of what you thought was your life, something stirs. Clarity. A new direction you would never have seen otherwise. This is what Seth, through Jane Roberts, called the framework of probabilities, the idea that your soul is constantly navigating through countless potential realities. The Watchers do not force you into one timeline. They simply highlight the one most aligned with your higher evolution. You still choose, but you are never choosing alone. You feel this most in moments of stillness, when you meditate, and even if you don't know how, when you lie awake at night, staring into the dark, feeling like someone else is there. When you ask a question silently, and the answer arrives in a dream or a stranger or a book you just happened to find. Your life is not a linear sequence of cause and effect. It is an interactive field of consciousness, and the watchers operate within that field, responding to your vibration like instruments attuned to a single note. This is where the work of Barbara Brennan becomes more than theory. In her decades as an energy healer, Brennan observed that the human field, what she called the aura, responds instantly to intention, emotion, and thought. She could see chords between people, images within the field, disruptions in flow that correlated with trauma, belief, and resistance. What she found most striking, however, was that the field changed in response to invisible influences. Moments when a person's energy would shift dramatically, even though they had no conscious awareness of why. Brennan described these shifts as moments of higher contact, when beings from higher realms interfaced with the client's energy, bringing clarity, healing, or subtle realignment. She noted, "The human energy field is not isolated. It is woven into a greater matrix of consciousness. There are intelligences who work with us from beyond what most people can see, but they are there, and their presence can be felt when the noise of the mind quiets." So what does this mean for you? It means you are never making decisions in a vacuum. Your intuition is not just a feeling. It is a response to unseen intelligence, a dialogue between your soul and the realms beyond. The challenge is not to find these beings, it is to become sensitive enough to feel them. You do this by shifting your internal state. Stillness, honesty, humility, wonder. These are the emotional keys that unlock dimensional perception. You don't need rituals or chants or initiations. You need sincerity. You need the courage to ask, what is really guiding me right now? And to listen, not with your ears, but with your energy. Because every thought you think radiates a signal. Every choice you make alters your vibration. And the watchers, those guardians of resonance, feel it all. They do not see your struggle the way humans do. They see the light trying to emerge from behind the confusion. And when you get quiet, when you drop below the surface noise, you will feel it. A gentle presence, not pushing, not demanding, just there. And if you follow it, if you trust the pull of the unseen, you'll find yourself making choices that feel guided, supported, strangely perfect, as if someone had already walked that path and left the signs just for you, because someone did. They are watching, but not from above, from within the pattern, from just beyond the edge of your awareness. You are not alone in your mind, you are not alone in your decisions, and you are never, not even for a moment, abandoned. Chapter 4. Why They Watch. The Purpose Behind the Veil. You might wonder, if they see us, why don't they stop the pain? Why don't they interfere when we fall? Why not break the silence and reveal themselves completely? The answer is both simple and vast. They watch not because they are cold. They watch because this world, your world is sacred. Because Earth is not just a planet. It is a school, and you are not here to be protected from the lessons. You are here to live them. From beyond the veil, the watchers understand something we forget the moment we enter this dimension. Growth does not come from comfort. Awakening does not come from answers. It comes from experience. In the teachings of the Law of One, Earth is referred to as a third-density planet. This is not a judgment, but a description of our current level of consciousness, a realm of polarity, limitation, forgetting. It is here that souls come to evolve through choice, by navigating darkness and light, fear and love, doubt and surrender. Free will is the great sacred gift and the great sacred challenge. Ra, the entity speaking through that material, said, "This third density is the density of the choosing. It is where the soul learns to recognize the Creator in all things, or forgets completely." The watchers, those who operate from higher densities, understand that interrupting this process prematurely would collapse the very purpose of it. They are not here to save us. They are here to observe the unfolding of our remembrance. Imagine a gardener watching over a seed. She does not scream at the seed to grow faster. She does not dig it up and unfold its leaves by hand. She waters. She waits. She holds space. That is the watcher's role, to bear witness as you crack open, as you rise, as you remember your original blueprint, not as punishment, but as divine memory returning through pain, joy, silence, and wonder. In the deep regression sessions of Dolores Cannon, hundreds of clients describe the same hidden reality, that before entering this life their souls met with beings, counsels, guides, watchers, who help design the blueprint of their incarnation. Major challenges, relationships, losses, all chosen not for suffering, but for soul development. The watchers remained on the other side, observing, gently reminding, never forcing. One client said under trance, "I see them. They're watching me not to punish me. They're watching to make sure I don't forget too much. Their eyes feel like memory and not judgment." This is echoed across traditions. In Seth Speaks, Jane Roberts' channeled entity explains that each soul chooses its incarnation, enters a temporary state of forgetting, and then begins a process of gradual awakening. The inner self, or higher self, remains in touch with greater knowledge, acting as both a guide and a bridge to the other realms. Seth said, "You are watched over, not as a child is watched, but as a beloved artist is observed by those who have already mastered the craft." In other words, your soul is not broken, it is becoming, and they are here to make sure you do not give up before the masterpiece begins to form. Their presence is a mirror, reflecting your growth, not measuring it. But there is another reason they watch, one that stretches far beyond you. Earth is not an isolated experiment. It is part of a larger web, a galactic network of evolving life. What happens here echoes outward into other dimensions. The collective frequency of humanity affects not only the Earth plane, but the balance of consciousness in other realms. Hermetic law teaches that, as above, so below. But it also means, as below, so above. Your thoughts, your healing, your awakening. These are not just personal victories, they are ripples in a cosmic sea. The watchers are not here just for you, they are here because you are a node in a great unfolding, a single soul, connected to millions. You are being observed because your choices matter, because your vibration is data, because your awakening helps stabilize the transformation of this planet into a higher expression. We are not the first world to go through this. Dolores Cannon's The Three Waves of Volunteers explores how many souls currently incarnated on Earth are not originally from here. They've come from other star systems, other realms, to help during this time of transition. But even they must follow the rules. To incarnate is to forget, and to remember only by the slow burn of inner revelation. And so the watchers watch, with reverence, with patience, and with deep love. They record without interfering. They hold the blueprint when you've forgotten the design. You may not see them, but you feel them when you're on the edge of something important, when you stand at a crossroads and the air grows still. You sense them in synchronicities that feel like messages, in signs too personal to be random, in that gentle certainty. This path is mine. I must walk it. They are with you in the silence between your thoughts, in the quiet after loss, in the soft power that enters the room when you decide, truly decide, to rise again. That is why they watch, not to test, not to judge, but to bear witness to the soul's return to itself. The veil exists to allow freedom. Their silence exists to preserve your choice. Their gaze exists to remind you that you matter in ways the world cannot yet measure. And as you remember this, not just with your mind, but with your being, the watchers do not step forward. You rise to meet them. Chapter 5. Contact Points. Dreams, Synchronicities, and Astral Interactions. They never knock. They never call your name aloud. And yet they arrive, not through doorways, but through states of consciousness, through dreams that feel too real, through moments of perfect timing that send shivers down your spine, through sensations that whisper, "This isn't random." Contact with the watchers doesn't come with spectacle or sound. It comes when your vibration reaches the threshold of perception, when your awareness cracks open just enough to feel what has always been there. One of the most common places of encounter is the dream space. In the writings of Jane Roberts, Seth made clear that every soul operates in many realms at once, and dreams are not meaningless byproducts of the subconscious. They are bridges. In dreams, you are no longer bound by the filters of the physical senses. You move freely across dimensional terrain, and there the watchers can step closer. In deep sleep, you are no longer anchored in the physical. You are not gone, but rather expanded. Your conscious mind sleeps, but your essence remembers. That's why sometimes you wake up with an idea you never had before, a solution, a message, a feeling you cannot shake. You may not recall the details, but something changed while you slept. This isn't a coincidence. Dolores Cannon's thousands of clients under deep hypnosis often described dreamlike states where they were taken to rooms of light, councils of beings, or schools of knowledge between lives. These were not imaginary. These were interdimensional meetings, designed to offer guidance, recalibration, or remembrance. One man described being led through a corridor of symbols. Another recalled a female presence, made of light, who spoke not with words, but through instant downloads of understanding. The message was always the same. You are not alone. You are being helped. But dreams are just one door. Contact also comes through synchronicity, that strange string of coincidences that seem to arrange themselves with intention. You think of a person and they call. You ask for a sign and a symbol appears, not once, but again and again. You feel pulled to a book, and inside, a sentence rearranges your understanding of everything. Carl Jung coined the word synchronicity to describe these events, not as chance, but as meaningful patterns in time. The law of one expands on this. When the seeking becomes pure, the signs shall come. These are not imposed, but arise from resonance. The universe answers not with words, but with patterns. These patterns are the language of the watchers. They do not speak English, Spanish, or Sanskrit. They speak through energy, through events, through alignment. It is not the sign itself that holds the power. It is your recognition of it. Because when you begin to truly notice the way the world bends around your inner state, you are remembering something primal, that your consciousness is not passive, that reality is not fixed, that you are in dialogue with the invisible, and the more you respond, the more it speaks back. Then, there are the moments between waking and sleeping, the hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, where images flash, voices whisper, and the veil between dimensions grows thin. In those moments, the watchers come closer. Sometimes you'll feel a presence. Other times you'll receive visions, warnings, or even instructions. This is not fiction. Carlos Castaneda, trained in Toltec knowledge by Don Juan Matus, wrote extensively of the second attention, a state of expanded perception that allowed access to what he called non-ordinary reality. In those altered states, his mentors described inorganic beings, non-physical entities that watched, taught, and challenged the seeker to grow. Though Castaneda's accounts are wrapped in metaphor and vision, they point to the same truth. There are watchful intelligences that dwell beyond ordinary sight, and they are far more involved than we dare to imagine. Some people report contact through meditation, a stillness deeper than silence, a presence felt behind the breath, a subtle shift in the room, not seen but undeniably there. Others receive messages during lucid dreams or astral projections, conscious journeys into the etheric realm where form becomes fluid and thoughts shape reality. In her sessions, Dolores Cannon found that many people regularly leave their bodies during sleep and visit council chambers, observation rooms, or celestial libraries. But upon waking, the conscious mind forgets, because the experiences vibrate outside the frequency of memory. But the body remembers, the energy field remembers, your intuition remembers. Sometimes, what you think is a new thought is actually a returning memory from one of these contact points, filtered slowly into your awareness so that your mind does not reject it. The watchers rarely appear in full. That would violate the rules of the game, but they leave breadcrumbs, not to lead you blindly, but to test your attention. Will you notice the number that keeps repeating? Will you follow the pull toward that book, that teacher, that sudden detour? Will you trust the feeling that says, go this way instead? These are not random. They are invitations. And each time you accept, each time you choose to believe that life is speaking to you, you strengthen the thread that connects you to them. You are not waiting for contact. You are already in it. The air around you carries more than oxygen. It carries information, intelligence, memory. And when your perception sharpens, you'll begin to see that the watchers were never out there. They have always been right here, just one breath beyond the veil. And now, with every moment of awareness, you move closer to meeting them fully. Chapter 6. How to open the channel and stay protected. You are surrounded by intelligence. The question is no longer whether they are there. The question is, are you ready to listen? Opening the channel to the watchers is not about calling down light from the sky. It is about calibrating your own frequency so that you can hear what's already speaking. You are not tuning into something new. You are remembering how to receive. But before you open the door, you must clean the room. Because perception without protection can lead to distortion. Contact without preparation can attract interference. And not all unseen energies are benevolent or aligned with your highest path. You must become a master of your field, a sovereign of your space. In Barbara Brennan's energy work, she taught that the human field is sensitive to influence, like an open antenna constantly receiving input. Thought forms, projections, unresolved trauma, and even collective fear can clog or distort your frequency. If you open your perception without first strengthening your field, you invite confusion, not clarity. The first step, then, is cleansing. Cleansing isn't dramatic. It's a return to stillness. You clear your field through intention, breath, and presence. Find a quiet space. Sit with your spine straight. Breathe in through your nose, long and slow. With each exhale, release all energies that do not belong to you. You don't need to visualize anything elaborate. Just know deeply that this is your space, and only truth is allowed here. The law of one teaches that spiritual protection is not about fear. It is about alignment. Entities of distortion cannot enter a space anchored in love, clarity, and sovereignty. It is the resonance of your inner state that sets the boundary, not force, not resistance. When you align with your true vibration, you become a light too bright for deception. Once your space is clear, you ask. And this is crucial. They cannot enter uninvited. Free will is sacred. Even the most benevolent beings will not impose. You must call them with clarity, with humility, and with an open heart. You might say, I invite only those who operate in service to truth, love, and my highest path. I welcome guidance that aligns with my soul's purpose. All other energies are dismissed and released now. Then, you listen, not with your ears, not with expectation, but with stillness. Sometimes you'll feel warmth. Sometimes a memory will surface. Sometimes a sentence will form in your mind that you didn't create. Don't chase it. Just sit with it. In Dolores Cannon's regressions, clients described receiving information not as words, but as downloads, full understandings that arrived as a wave. They often came during meditation, nature walks, or moments of emotional surrender. Rarely did they arrive on command, but always they arrived when the seeker was ready, because the channel does not open under force. It opens through surrender. If you truly want to establish a connection, your inner life must be in order. Resentment, chaos, and egostatic signal, but gratitude, humility, devotion, these are tuning tools. This is why the Hermetic principle of vibration is key. You attract what you are. If you live in fear, you become visible to lower frequencies. If you cultivate joy, truth, and spiritual maturity, you become visible to higher intelligences. You don't just open the channel once. You live as the channel, through daily intention, through alignment, through silence. But as the channel opens, discernment becomes your compass. Just because something speaks to you from the unseen doesn't mean it serves the light. Discernment is the art of energetic literacy, of feeling the source behind the message. If a message creates fear, separation, urgency, or superiority, question it. True contact brings peace. Even if the truth is difficult, it carries the resonance of love. Barbara Brennan described this as energy signature. Just like you can feel the tone of someone's voice beyond their words, you can feel the tone of the message behind its form. The watchers who serve the divine law do not dominate. They do not seduce, they do not flatter, they remind. Their presence carries the weight of ancient memory, the kind that brings you back to yourself, the kind that doesn't add answers but dissolves confusion. You'll know when the contact is real, because it will not give you new beliefs. It will awaken what you already knew but had forgotten. Once the channel is open, maintain it through rhythm. Create daily space for silence. Journal the symbols, dreams, or messages that arise. Spend time in nature, the original transmitter of multidimensional energy. Speak aloud your intention to stay connected, not once, but as a habit. You are not asking to be led. You are asking to walk beside the truth, and above all, stay humble. The moment you believe you've arrived, the ego takes over. The watchers withdraw, not in punishment, but because humility is the only frequency in which truth survives. You are not a prophet. You are not a master. You are a being in remembering, a soul reactivating ancient sight. So protect your field, purify your motives, and open your heart. They are already near. All they need is a clear signal, an honest invitation, and the silence through which they can speak. Final reflection. The silence that watches back. Now you know. Not through belief, but through a subtle unraveling. The gentle remembrance of something ancient stirring beneath your ribs. You are not walking alone through a cold and empty cosmos. You are not drifting through time unnoticed, unloved, unseen. You are being witnessed by intelligences who do not wear names, who do not seek your worship, and who ask for nothing but your awakening. They have watched you through lifetimes, through heartbreak and rebirth, through the long silence of forgetting and the quiet bloom of rediscovery. They remember you when you forget yourself. And now, something has changed, because the veil is thinner, the field is louder, and are you finally listening? Not to noise, but to signal, not to fantasy, but to the faint echo of truth. Truth that has followed you like a shadow since the day you were born. This was never about contact in the way you imagined. It was about alignment, about resonance, about remembering that the ones you long to meet are already here. They have always been here. They do not wait for your perfection. They wait for your stillness, your humility, your decision to tune in rather than reach out. Because contact was never meant to be a spectacle, it was meant to be sacred, quiet, and unmistakably real. Now the invitation is yours to accept, not just with curiosity, but with intention. Live as if you are watched, not with fear, but with reverence. Speak as if every word shapes energy, because it does. Move as if your choices ripple through dimensions, because they do. Rest as if the presence watching you does so with love, because it always has. The journey is not over. It's only just begun. You've stepped through the doorway of awareness, and now your life becomes the message, your breath becomes the prayer, your field becomes the beacon, and in the silence between each moment, something watches back, not as a stranger, but as a part of you, long forgotten, now awakening. So be still. They are closer than ever, and they have waited a very long time for this moment.